Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the Two Ewes of Two Ewes Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at twoewesfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our Two Ewes Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode.
Hello, Marsha.
Hi, Kelly.
How are you?
Oh, I'm great.
Good. Did you have a good Halloween?
Yeah, we did. It was pretty good. I decorated the house. I have a big, those big inflatables. It's a big black cat.
Oh.
That I've had. It's one of those things that, I got like right before Halloween when everything's 70% off or at the store. And so I've had it for 5 or 6 years, but it's kind of cool. It blows up. It's big. It's about 8 feet long, 4 feet high maybe. And then it has this big head that moves back and swings, and it scares all of the animals and in the neighborhood. So yeah, I put that up in cobwebs and lights and stuff.
Nice.
And then it was really fun. My mother-in-law sent a Halloween costume for Enzo, which was an orange T-shirt.
Oh,
that said,
yes.
Happy Halloween on it.
I saw
so
that. That was cute.
Yeah, I posted a picture on Instagram and Facebook, but we can put it in the show notes what he looked like. He looked pretty cute. And then, of course, Ben just turned 19 yesterday.
Yes. Wow.
Shocking.
I know.
Absolutely. I can't believe he turned 19.
I know it.
So he's too old for trick-or-treating, of course, but he has, I don't even remember now why he has this, but he has this big pink bunny costume, and he put on the bunny costume with all of his motorcycle gear underneath the costume, and then put all of his jacket on, his pants and his shoes and everything, and then put the bunny costume on over that, and then rode his motorcycle around the neighborhood.
Oh my God!
Terrorizing children.
How funny!
So I thought that was actually pretty darn funny.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was pretty good. We had maybe 25 kids, I think.
Yeah.
And then probably about 8:15, I thought, I'm done. I want to go knit. And I can't knit, because I have to keep getting up and answering the door. So I shut the whole party down at about 8:15, 8:30. But then I took the dog out for a walk because I thought that'd be good for him to go out at night when there's a bunch of people looking weird. It's good training, right, to be around weird-looking people at night, to get kind of used to that. And I did see a mom and dad in the minivan with about 6 kids in the minivan, and they drive up and they'd see a house, that had a lot of lights and pumpkins and stuff, and the kids would all pile out of the minivan, go up to the door, get their candy, get back into the minivan, and they drive a couple doors down the street. When there's another house that's all lit up, kids all pile out of the minivan.
I'm sorry.
And I thought,
that's
yes,
totally
lame. Yes, that's lame.
Very lame.
You're supposed to walk all around the neighborhood to get that candy. And of course, being Seattle, it's pouring down rain. It's pouring down rain on Halloween. So
I guess I can give him a pass if it was raining. But still.
No, you don't get a pass.
Okay.
No.
If you live in Seattle, you don't get a pass.
Yeah, if you live in Seattle, you just have to deal with the rain. You don't have your mom and dad drive you around in a minivan.
Oh, my goodness.
Marsha's rules.
Yeah. Well,
anyway.
I'm glad you said that at about 8:15 you were done and you wanted to go in and knit. Because let me just point out that you said that at about 3 minutes and 30 seconds into the podcast. So just for the record, this episode, we talked about knitting by the 4-minute mark.
Thank God.
As opposed to the last episode, 15 minutes.
Well, in our defense, we had the epic project blues.
Yes, and
last episode,
and I was still recovering from a party the day before, and yes, I was in a sort of a low energy that I kind of didn't even want to re-listen to the podcast to edit it because I thought, oh my God, I'm going to just sound like I'm dragging along. But anyway, let the record show at before 4 minutes, Marsha actually said the word knitting.
Yes. Well, but before I get to knitting and project updates, I do have to just one more thing about Halloween, Kelly. You posted your Halloween picture of your costume on Instagram, and the morning of Halloween, I get up and you make your trip to the bathroom, then you go to the kitchen to make your coffee, then you go pick up your phone and you check social media. And I picked up the phone and I opened up Instagram and I thought, who is that woman? Who do I know? Who do I know? Like, I don't recognize that woman at all.
Well, I have to say,
like, who do I? Yeah,
it was a little bit of a shock how easy it was to make myself look that bad. Like, it should have taken me hours, and it took me less than 15 minutes. So, just saying, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, not a good sign. Well, and Robert too looked horrible.
Yeah.
Then at night when you posted a picture of the two of you, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, you guys look terrible. You guys need to get to the spa.
Yes. Well, I did. It was kind of fun. I did make one of my students scream. I walked into class, and she was looking down at her papers while I walked in, and I got myself situated at the front of the classroom, and she looked up and saw me and went, ah! So that was satisfying.
Very good. Yeah,
that was very satisfying.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well.
So yes, a little black eye makeup and a little white, make your face look white. Little black eye makeup in the already wrinkled creases. And when you're in your 50s, surprisingly easy to make yourself look horrible.
Did you find creases that you didn't know you had? Is that what you're saying?
Let's just say that when you put a little bit of black eyeliner in them, they become much more noticeable.
Well, I thought it was very creative and it was really fun. So,
and the hair too. I mean, I have to say, I've had short hair for most of my life, but having this hair, you have to do something with it for Halloween, and that was pretty easy. A little bit of ratted hair.
Actually, what did you put in your hair? Because it looked like you put something in it to make it more gray.
No. I shouldn't. That's my real hair. That's my point. I just
okay. It was just I was laughing because the minute I said, "What'd you do to make it look more gray?" which is admitting that your hair is gray, has some gray in it, and now I find out you didn't do anything.
I didn't do a thing.
Now I feel kind of bad.
Not a thing.
Oh well. Oh gosh, so funny. Well,
yeah.
Anyway,
it was pretty fun.
Okay. Well, now let's actually talk about knitting.
Knitting, yes. So
Yes. Okay. I'm just gonna be rude and plunge right into project updates and my project update because I'm sitting here drinking a glass of wine. Oh, can you hear that?
Yes. Here, let me do mine too because I think we have a toast coming up.
Yes, we have a toast. Okay. I finished my Frank's Spirit Yarn Afghan.
Woohoo!
Woo!
Yay!
Okay, let's clink glasses again. There we go.
Cheers.
No, I had errands this morning, things I had to do, and then I came back. I got home probably 3:00, I think. Maybe 2:30 or something. And then I just sat and I thought, I am finishing this thing before we record because we normally record, in the afternoon, but we're a little bit delayed. And so we're actually recording after dinner. It's now almost 8 o'clock. But I just sat, I thought, I am finishing this thing. So I finished the last color, the 14th color.
Yay!
And I bound off. And I had the beginning and the end that I had to weave in, and And then when I first started knitting it, I was just, tying when I would start a new ball. I was just making a knot, and I thought I'll go back and weave in the ends. But all of a sudden I realized that I didn't want to do that because that would be a lot. Because especially the blue that had been in my father's sweater, there was some moth damage, so I had to do a lot of repair work. So I ended up just doing this, what do you call it, the spit splicing or whatever. That's how I did the whole thing.
So for our listeners who have never done it before, explain what spit splicing is. The
way I understand it, what I do is you sort of split the yarn, the two ends. If you're going to join your two ends, both ends, you sort of remove half the fiber from one. Like if it's a 4-ply, you would remove 2 of the plies from each end. And then you overlap those and kind of twist them around each other like a barber pole. And then you wet it and felt it. And then you rub it between your hands. I'm doing the gesture. But I mean, you rub it between your hands to kind of felt those two ends together. And it makes it, and then you just keep knitting. And it's a great way because then you don't have all of those ends to weave in. Right. And on the Afghan like this, because it's so heavy, I don't think it would have been that noticeable weaving the ends in. But I do think sometimes when you do a shawl that's maybe lace weight, and then you weave in the ends, you can actually see it. If you hold it up to the light, and not that you're really going to do this, but if you hold it up to the light, then you can see those where you've woven in the ends. And I sometimes think it's a nice technique with lace, I think. And then just any project, it's a nice technique because you don't have to go back and weave in all those ends. Yeah. And with this Afghan, I had a lot of ends because I had 14 color changes. And then because of the moth damage to the blue of the main color, I had to do a lot. I would have, if I had just tied a knot and then gone back and woven in the ends, it would have been a couple days work weaving those in. Yeah. So it's a nice technique. Yeah.
I think what you described is really good if you want to kind of not have a real heavy lump, in your yarn. But like with my Funky Grandpa cardigan, there were a couple of places where my spinning wasn't good enough. And so the yarn kind of drifted apart. One of the plies kind of drifted apart. And I just broke it and laid it on each other. I didn't worry about taking one ply, taking half out of each. I just stuck the two ends of the yarn together, overlapped by about 2 inches, and then, spit on them and rubbed them between my hands. And you get a little thicker section, which, maybe wouldn't be good for because your Afghan is already thick. So you get a little thicker section. But in my handspun, it's like thick and thin. That it varied from fingering weight to lace weight.
Exactly.
To sport weight, all along the way. So it didn't really make any difference.
And I think with my Afghan, even having thicker bits is not a problem because it's all garter stitch. If it had been stockinette, maybe
you would notice,
it might be more noticeable. So anyway, that's what I did.
Nice.
But I have to give you some information about it.
Okay.
So I measured it. It's 6 feet 8 inches long and 5 feet 7 inches wide.
Oh wow!
And I laid it out. I have a queen size bed, and I laid it out, and it pretty much covers a queen. It fits a queen size bed.
Cool. So I remember when we were looking at what the size was going to be when we were doing the original math. Right. And we had thought it was going to be 5 foot something wide. And at one point you thought we were way off on the width.
Yes, we were off on the, and let me tell you.
What was our original and how good was our math?
Okay, we thought it was going to be 80 inches by 67 inches, or so 67 inches wide by 80 inches.
So we were pretty right on the width, actually.
Yeah, we were.
That's pretty good. We're off by about an inch. And then, and how many inches long again? Say that again. 80 something?
It was, 6 feet 8 inches long.
Is what we thought, or what it actually is?
No, that's what it ended up being.
Okay.
So I'm sorry. So now I'm talking inches versus feet.
That's okay.
So the length was supposed to be 80 inches. 6 feet, 0.66666 inches. So that's about right.
So we're not that far off.
No, and so what did I say? The width was supposed to be. I'm looking at Ravelry in my notes.
5.5, and it was 7 inches.
So 67 inches is what we said the width was going to be, and 5.58.
Okay,
and so that's about right.
Yeah. So we were pretty cool. We were pretty good.
Pretty close. Yeah, pretty close.
Math
okay,
works.
So now this is the yes, math works. Too bad we can't do it very well.
I know, really.
We have to get out the calculator.
It has to do with how late at night it is and how many glasses of wine you had.
And I admit I've had full disclosure, I've had 1.5 already tonight because I broke out the wine when I finished weaving in the last end.
Yeah,
but I'm okay.
Me too.
Anyway, but here's the thing. The other thing is what I was really curious is what the thing weighs.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's so heavy. I can't really, I have this big basket, and I had that big basket, and I used to take it. I did take it. What night did I go watch a movie at my brother's house? I guess it was that last Sunday night, and I did bring it over, and I worked on it there. But otherwise, it's not super portable,
Yeah.
Anyway, so I wanted to get the weight. Well, the thing is, my bathroom scale is so old, it's not digital. It's that old one.
Mine too.
That was left in the house, and so that's not very good because I wanted it to the ounce. And then my kitchen scale, I think its top weight that'll handle is maybe 2 pounds. And also it's too small.
Yeah.
It's only about, 6 inches square.
Yeah, what are you going to put the Afghan
in
to get it weighed?
So you know what I did?
What did you do?
Late this afternoon, after I finished weaving in the ends. Oh, before my glass of wine, but after I wove in the ends, I went over to the vet because the vet has a scale that every time I bring Enzo, I have to put him on the scale, and it goes to the ounce, right? So I brought it over and I weighed it, and it's 5 pounds, 5 ounces. Well, no, I'm sorry. It's 5.5 pounds.
Wow.
So it's 5 pounds,
8 ounces.
5.5 pounds. Yeah, 5 pound, 8 ounces.
Wow.
It's heavy.
Wow. So, okay, so that's pretty amazing. But I'm also pretty amazed by the fact that you went to the vet to do this. So what did the people at the vet's office say when you arrived with an Afghan?
Yes, I was driving over there, and I thought, now what do I say to them? And so I just went in there.
Please, may I use your scale?
Well, I walked in there, and it's like, how many people walk into the vet that don't have a dog or a cat, right, or an animal? So I walked in, and I have no dog with me. So I just went in there, and I said, this is I said, I don't have a dog with me. And I have an unusual request. And she's like, oh, what is it? They're all kind of worried. And I said, I want to use your scale. Oh, okay, why? And then I said, well, I've got this Afghan. And then there was 2 women.
Not an Afghan hound.
Not an Afghan hound. But she was so funny because she says she's not a knitter, but her mother's a knitter.
Okay.
And she said, oh, no, she said, I totally know what you're doing, And then she's like, well, tell me about this Afghan. And then she was really interested that I had taken my dad's sweater apart, and I'd gotten got all of the yarn from the Goodwill or the Knitter's Retreat, or we had a listener send a skein to me. So she was really intrigued by that. So they're like, oh yeah, but then she was really concerned that I not put the Afghan right on the scale because all those dogs have been on there. And I said, oh, don't worry, I brought this really thin plastic bag that I put down first, so that I wouldn't have my Afghan on the doggy scale. Anyway, so yeah, it's kind of it's a huge relief to have it done because I was just. Yeah. So full disclosure too, before we record, I actually kind of make notes about what I want to talk about. And so I can make sure I have the correct name of the pattern and the correct spelling of the designer. I have very poor notes today because I was just trying to get that Afghan done. And so I'm winging it a little bit. I did make notes about the yarn and everything, but,
okay. So
anyway,
let me help you out a little bit. Garter Squish by Stephen West.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's very cool.
Nice.
I'm going to have to take a little break from my next Afghan, but I'm already planning my next Afghan.
Ooh.
And what I think I want to do is, because I have a fair amount of yarn that I picked up at the Goodwill. And I actually, when we were at Knockers, I got, I think, 6 skeins of kind of a beige color yarn. Do you remember? And I'm completely drawing a blank on the name of the yarn, the brand.
But it's wool, right?
It's wool, and it's a sweater's quantity, kind of a camel color.
Yes, I remember.
And then I also I have a lot of undyed yarn, just blank. It's not a color. It's just sort of a natural color yarn that I've purchased at the Goodwill. I think if I combined those, I would have enough for the main color of, well, I would have enough for the normal size Afghan, the Stephen West dimensions, not the Marsha Fusel dimensions.
So now, from now on, anytime anyone makes something super large, they have to call it the Marsha dimensions.
Marsha dimensions, yes. Big. So, but what I was thinking is, because the yarn, I don't have enough yarn for the main color of either one of the any of these yarns. What I was thinking of doing is, since they're kind of similar in tonal quality, or both beigey, one's the camel color, one's kind of the cream color, is what I might do is just alternate.
Yeah.
So, and then, but you need to carry another yarn with it. And so what I thought, since I have so many different yarns, what I might do is just paint them and not try to make any of the ones that are painted. Just have fun. Don't even try to make them look exactly alike, because that's not the point.
Right.
What I want to do then is the main color will be that camel color and a natural color, and I'll just alternate those, every 2 rows, right? So I'll just carry the yarn up one side, and then I'll do the same thing with the variegated yarn or the hand-painted yarn, and alternate skeins. So, maybe I do one that's hand-painted in like reds and pinks and yellows or something, and then I do another painted one in, turquoise and lime green or something.
Oh, fun.
And then, and alternate, but then stagger them. So I'm not going to have, so it blends it even more. Maybe you do like, depending on, I don't know, like depending on how much you have, is you would alternate sort of the red hue and the blue hue of the hand painted. You'd alternate, every 2 rows. And then you drop the red hued one, keep going with the blue, but you'd pick up a yellow.
Right.
And then you drop the blue, but you keep going with the yellow, but then you'd add in purple or something. Oh, so does that make sense?
Yes.
And I kind of got this idea from the Stonehenge.
The crazy.
Stonehenge crazy. Because if you look at that yarn, what they've done is, they'll do red and yellow together. Then they'll drop the red, continue with the yellow, but pick up a blue.
Right, yeah.
Then they'll drop the yellow, continue with the blue, but pick up a green.
Right, so the plies there's some consistency in the plies because they don't change both plies at the same time. So it's a nice blending. Yeah, that would be really nice.
So that's what I'm kind of thinking of doing. And then, but again, I would make a smaller one. And my brother really wants an Afghan. So that's what I was thinking I might do. And then it'd be fun just because I get to dye. Yeah, I'm interested in that idea.
Oh, that sounds cool.
And then my friend Kim, we were over going through her stash, and because I think this pattern has endless possibilities.
I see an obsession.
But we were over there, and I was talking to her, and she has all of these really fine but fuzzy yarns, like mohair. Like mohair, are they mohair or something?
Yeah,
they're really fine.
Like Kid Silk Haze or one of those.
Yes. And she has a ton of those. I think that would be kind of interesting to experiment also, doing this technique, maybe not an Afghan, but if you combine that with some other very soft, really yummy yarn, it'd be an interesting shawl. Yeah. So you'd have a main color that, whatever your main color, I don't know, maybe it's just a neutral cream or something. And then because she has like she has this really beautiful sort of like a bright kind of apple green, and she has like a violet, And there was a whole bunch of different colors she had. And I thought that would be kind of an interesting idea, too.
Yeah.
And you could even do it very, you could make it very loose, too. Like, you could do it maybe not on as large of needles that I use. I think these were 13s or 15s now. Isn't it funny? I can't remember now. I found off. I can't remember. But it would be interesting. You could do it a little bit smaller needles, but still big enough that your garter stitch would be very lacy. Mm-hmm. It'd be an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, and that would make, I think it would make a nice little blanket, Afghan blanket thing to throw on throw for your couch.
Something a little bit more ladylike and delicate than what I made. Mine is Marsha dimensions. Is that what we're calling it?
Yeah, it's Marsha dimensions.
Anyway.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what I'm thinking about. But just in terms of epic projects, I also just have to give a shout out to Cindy Q.
Oh my gosh.
Did you see?
Yes.
And she made the spectacular Afghan called Persian Dreams by Janice Hope. And it really is gorgeous.
Yes.
And I know she's been working on that a really long time. And I think got kind of spurred on by this epic project goal. And she's been posting updates in the thread on Ravelry, and it really is spectacular.
Yeah, she finally finished it. I was just blown away. I mean, when I first saw, so it's Fair Isle, just to describe it a little bit. It's Fair Isle hexagons, and they're pretty large. We're not talking like hexapuff size. We're talking about 8 inches, maybe.
Yeah, they might be bigger than that, but they're big.
Good size hexagons with a Fair Isle design, worked from the center out. And when I looked at the pattern page, the designer had one of these Afghans made with a white, the ground color, the main color, the background color was cream. And then the colors of the design elements were like blues and other colors, but against like a cream or a white background. And it was nice, but it didn't grab me. But her colors are just totally stunning. It's a dark background, like a dark natural wool. I don't know if that's what it is, but that's what it reminds me of, is a dark natural wool color. Mm-hmm. And then the color work is done in, I don't know, like jewel tones. Just, it's so pretty. So much prettier really than, in my opinion, very much prettier than the original pattern from the pattern designer. Mm-hmm. Amazing with the dark background and then the more jewel tone colors. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is beautiful.
It is very beautiful. It's very inspiring. I mean, I'm not in the market for a modular project like that where you do all the pieces and then put all the pieces together, because I just think but if you were, knowing myself, that's like a disaster waiting to happen. But if I were in the market for a modular project, that would be one I would choose, because it is gorgeous, super gorgeous. Yeah, I think it's the prettiest. It's the prettiest blanket I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. Aside from mine.
Of course.
No, actually, I'm joking. I'm just joking, but because they're like completely different,
right?
But I just the labor that went into that, and I think she's
fingering weight. I think it's fingering weight.
Yeah, and then, but I think also she said that she did them, but she decided she didn't like the background color, so she had ripped some of them out, a bunch of them out, and redid them.
There was a blue that didn't work well with the background color that she had to change. So, hats off. That is amazing. That work, amazing.
Have a glass of wine, Cindy.
Yes, have a whole bottle.
Yeah, really. Yeah, really. We said it's okay to drink the entire bottle.
That's right. Oh, my gosh.
Anyway, enough of my projects. So what about you? What's going on?
So, let's see. I did no progress on the octopus, still hanging around waiting to be sewn together. But I did pick up my Funky Grandpa, and I picked up the stitches for the second sleeve, and I started working on the second sleeve, and I actually made it all the way down to the stripes, which start about at the elbow. So my second sleeve is about halfway done. And
Okay.
I have to recommend to people, knit with your handspun. Just do it. Knit something. If you only have a small amount of handspun, knit a small something. If you have a large amount of wool, spin for a sweater, and don't worry. I know that there are people who are very technical in their spinning and very technical in their knitting, and there are recommendations for how you spin an ounce and then spin another ounce, and you put it all in storage bobbins because you might change your grist while you're spinning. And then you can mix like the first bobbin you spun with the last bobbin you spun when you ply it. So things even out. I have to say, I didn't do any of that. I spun this 13 years ago. I mean, I wasn't that super great of a spinner. I mean, I had been spinning for a couple of years. Maybe more than that. I've been spinning for maybe 4 years. I got this fleece. I really liked the fleece. I started spinning it. I decided I wanted to over-dye some of it, so I did that. And this yarn, I mean, it goes from being, as I'm knitting with it, it's a 2-ply, and it's, I did not spin it like long draw or, I was a spinner that just spun how I felt like spinning. So however I felt like spinning that day, that's how I spun it. But it's more of a woolen, I mean, because it was carded, and I think it was hand carded. I don't think I had my drum carder at that point. So I think this fiber was mostly hand carded. Although maybe it was drum carded. I don't remember. It was a woolen preparation, and I spun it kind of mostly sort of woolen. I mean, I wasn't strict about how I spun it. I just spun it. And it varies from lace weight to fingering weight to there's some places where it's a sport weight. And there's some places where, like I said before, some of the plies didn't quite get spun enough. And so as I'm knitting with it, one of the plies just drifted apart. I mean, it hasn't happened a lot, but it's happened a couple of times. I guess if I get to my point is I wasn't an expert spinner when I spun this. I mean, I don't think I'm an expert spinner now, but I definitely wasn't an expert spinner when I spun this. And it is making a great sweater. I mean, the fabric is so pretty, and there's a sheen to it. And I didn't think of this fleece as being particularly lustrous, but there's a sheen to it that I'm finding as I knit it, and I like the fabric that's coming out, and so I'm encouraging anybody, doesn't matter what kind of spinner you are, if you want to spin for a sweater, spin for a sweater. And if you want to just make a 2-ply, make a 2-ply, because that's what this is. Don't think, I have to make a 3-ply because 3-ply is more round, and just make a 2-ply if that's what you want to do. And if your yarn isn't perfect, don't worry about it, because it's going to knit up beautifully. And I'm really happy.
And don't do what I do is you don't make anything because you're waiting for that perfect pattern because it's an heirloom piece. That's like I have that, I want to make, because it's my special hand spun, I want to make something special out of it, and then I never make anything.
Well, mine sat around for how long? Since about 2003. So 13 years it's been sitting around waiting for the perfect project. Yeah.
And now you found it.
Now I found it. So it's the Funky Grandpa, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm on the second sleeve down to the stripes, and I'm really enjoying the over-dyed. It's a gray. It's a gray wool from a sheep named Charlotte, and I had when I first was preparing it, I had over-dyed. I think I over-dyed the fiber, but I'm not positive. I may have, in some cases, over-dyed the yarn after it was spun. But you get really vibrant, deep, rich colors when you dye over the top of gray. So the colors are beautiful, and the yarn is fun, and it's my hand spun, and yeah, so I'm looking forward to having that finished. I'm trying not to think about the fact that I'm going to have to pick up for a button band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't think about it.
No, because that doesn't sound fun at all. So I have picked that up since our last. That's something that's been languishing. I think I started that project in January. So it's been hanging around for a while. I'm ready to have it be done.
Yeah.
I'm ready to wear it. But, lots of other stuff got done in the meanwhile.
Mm-hmm.
I think my first derailment from that sweater was the Star Wars people.
Mm-hmm.
All those crochet creatures.
Yeah. So, and you made a lot of those.
I did, 13.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
something like that. A lot of them anyway.
Yeah.
And then bears and various other things. So that project is moving along again. And then I've made some progress on my crochet sweater. I want to insert here that the crocheted sweater is The Curious Case of the Crazy Stitch Cardigan by Michelle Dunaire. You take the strip that's the back and the strip that's the front, and you crochet a chain between them, which is the shoulder. So I've done that. And then you start to fill in the blank space where the chain is that goes over the shoulder, and you fill in the blank space under the arm. And so it's extremely interesting construction.
Yeah, so unusual. I mean, I don't know. We talked about before, I don't really know anything about crochet, so the construction is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Is this, do you know enough to know about crochet to know if this is sort of a typical construction or unusual?
This is only, I haven't looked at a lot of other patterns. I think it might be unusual. The first pattern I did of hers started like a shawl, so it was top down. And it starts kind of like a shawl, like the virus shawl or one of those others. Mm-hmm. And then once you get to the point where it's like over your shoulders, you skip over stitches and make the armhole. Mm-hmm. You leave a bunch of stitches uncrocheted, and that makes the armhole. Mm-hmm. And this is not like that at all. This is a strip in the back, a strip in the front, crochet a chain. So it's sideways. It's all done sideways. That's interesting. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll put some pictures of it in the show notes. But I'm really liking the fabric. Again, the fabric that I'm getting with the bamboo. The combination of bamboo and crochet, I think, is a really good one. Because there's enough structure in crochet to really make the bamboo behave. And I think if I were knitting, I bought this to knit a sweater, but I think if I knit a sweater in it, it would be so floppy, it might there's not enough body in bamboo to be a good sweater fabric.
Yeah.
So the crocheting is actually giving it some really nice body. Mm-hmm. So those are the two things that I've been working on, besides just random, a little bit of knitting on a sock here or there. But those have been the two projects that I've been working on, those two sweaters. Finishing the one with the handspun and getting moving on the one that's crocheted. So yeah, that's my project update.
All right, cool.
So Marsha, I have some cool news about our listeners.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if you remember, but recently our podcast host, gave us the option of posting our podcast to YouTube. So even though it's an audio podcast, it still goes to YouTube, and it just has a picture that just stays static on it, but people can listen to it. And I noticed today that we have 6 YouTube subscribers. Woo-hoo. I know. So 5 people who are from the U.S. One of them is named Janie, and I don't know why, but I have her information. I got a little message that says, Janie, subscribe to your podcast, but nobody else. So maybe there's privacy settings or something that they have. So 5 subscribers from the U.S., including Janie. Thank you. I think Janie's from the U.S. And then 1 subscriber in Canada. Okay. To our YouTube channel. So that's pretty exciting. And I also noticed that we had a little uptick in our Ravelry group and in our subscriptions or our, listeners. And I think it's because once we're on YouTube, when people finish listening to a video, you know how or watching a video, it will suggest other videos. And so I think maybe we're reaching to an audience that, maybe isn't the Ravelry audience. We're reaching to people who are actually on YouTube. But then, if it were me, I probably wouldn't listen on YouTube. I would find it on YouTube and then go subscribe on my podcast app. So anyway, welcome to everyone who has come to us through YouTube. It's really exciting. I'm glad you found us, and I'm glad you're listening to the podcast, whether you're listening on YouTube or on the podcast app. So yeah, I was really pleased to see that you want to go where your listeners are. And so I'm glad we have the opportunity to find people who are interested in listening to us in YouTube.
Yeah. Exciting. Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. And then we also got some iTunes reviews, which actually it's been a while since I've looked. So some of these have been there for a while. But I just wanted to thank a few people for their reviews. Wild Pony 2, which is Janice. She said, it's like virtual knit night with your BFFs. So that's kind of fun. And then we also had Leslie, who is a group member. She gave a review, but she's also a group member who recently bought a spinning wheel. And I'm taking credit. Well,
okay.
I think we can take credit for her purchase of a spinning wheel. Because she was excited about spinning, and now she has a wheel. So yeah, Leslie wrote a nice review for us. So thank you, Leslie. And then someone in your neck of the woods with the login name, iTunes name of Meaty Cheese Girl from Washington. So she enjoys the podcast. And then also Kimbuk2. And you know Kim. She's been a listener since the very beginning, or at least close to the very beginning. So she left us an iTunes review also. And so thank you to all of you for your support for our podcast. It's really nice to hear positive reviews. So yeah, I just really want to thank everyone for listening. Those of you who have sent in reviews, those of you who are subscribing on YouTube, and just other listeners. It's just, I'm blown away when I think about the number of people all over the world who are listening to us. It's so humbling.
Drone on, right?
Yeah, listening to us.
I know, because I always kind of feel, I do, you, Kelly, you and I have talked about this. It's like, I really can't believe that people want to listen to us just talk about knitting, but oh well.
Well, and last episode, they listened to us not talk about knitting.
Right.
Talk about squirrels and fleas and all sorts of things.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much to everyone who's listening. We really appreciate you, and it makes our day when we hear feedback like the reviews or the nice things that people say on the Ravelry group. Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah.
Well, I have a little report. I as we've been sitting here talking, I've been working on a washcloth, and I just bound off. Yay! So again, didn't we have a live bind off last episode?
Yes, we have another live 2 episodes in a row with a live bind off. Woohoo!
Funny. Anyway, okay. So what else is going on?
Well, I got some yarn.
Ooh. Do tell.
Yes, I succumbed to the pretty stuff on Instagram. And also, I've been wanting for a while some Blacker yarn, which is a British yarn company. And so they have interesting yarns, different interesting breeds. And so I bought a skein of one of the breeds that they have, or one of the yarns that they have, is called St. Kilda. It's a lace weight. And so I had heard about this on a couple of different podcasts, and Claire from New Hampshire Knits, who started her podcast right about the same time as ours, she now has a shop called the Woolly Thistle. And I thought, okay, I am interested in this blacker yarn, and now there's a U.S. distributor for it. So I went to Claire's shop, and I bought a skein of the blacker St. Kilda lace. And the interesting thing about the St. Kilda lace is it is a combination of a breed called Soe that's from islands northwest of Scotland. And actually on the New Hampshire Knits podcast, the most recent episode, she actually interviews someone who raises Soe sheep here and then talks about the breed. But they live on an island. They might be one of the breeds that eats seaweed, I think. Anyway, limited amount of this fiber is available each year because there are a limited amount of these sheep in the on St. Kilda Island, the Isle of St. Kilda, or yes, beautiful lace weight, woolly, a little bit hard. You know, not super soft.
Is it the natural color or is it dyed?
The one I have is a natural color. It's called the Isle of Dun. Dun. D-U-N with the accent mark. Scottish. Okay. I don't speak Scottish. But beautiful. It's a pale gray color, like a silvery gray color. So, and I think, let's see, it is the St. Kilda. It's a 50-gram skein. And it's 760 yards in 100 grams, so that'll be half of that. So 380 yards. So this will be a small shawly something probably for me. But I just it's a combination of Soe and another type of sheep called Borere, and sheep breeds that I've never heard of. Gotta have it.
Yes, I would agree with that.
So I got this from the Woolly Thistle. I didn't have to go all the way to England to order it. And then I ordered another one that is a sock yarn called Hebridean Wool with Mohair. And this one is, oh my gosh, this is I bought 2 50-gram balls of this. This is going to be socks for Robert, I think. And this is a nice woolly, oh my gosh, it smells like sheep, kind of. So nice. It smells woolly, sheepy. It's beautiful. I got an olive green color of this Hebridean wool with mohair. And it feels like the kind of yarn that in the skein is pretty, but just doesn't do justice to what the actual swatch is going to look like. I think I might swatch with these, and then I can undo my swatch and use it. I'm going to make socks with them, but I'm kind of interested in doing a swatch just to see how beautiful the swatch is when it's done. Yeah. But Robert wants some Argyle socks, and so I think this might make some nice Argyle socks. So not the softest wool in the world, and the skein it's a 50-gram skein that has 190 yards. So it's a little smaller. It's a little denser yarn. You know, you don't get quite as many yards in the 50 grams. But it's a beautiful Hebridean wool with mohair. And oh my gosh, I love mohair anyway. So that's a cool one. And then I also got 2 balls of Manx wool with mohair. And the Manx feels a little softer. Not quite as coarse and hard, a little softer. And it's a natural color, kind of a brown, like a latte, maybe a latte color taupe. Actually, it's the same color as the nylon stocking that I have over the top of my microphone. So, you know, that color, natural taupe, whatever they call nylon stockings. People don't even wear those anymore, but you know what I'm talking about. So I'm very interested in swatching with both of these. It's one of those yarns that if you're not a big fan of the woolly wools, you might look at it and go, oh, that's a little hard. But I think once you swatch with it and wash it, you'll find that it's a really beautiful, beautiful type of yarn. So I'm very excited about those 3 different yarns that I got from Woolly Thistle, the blacker yarns. And then she sent along a couple of other skeins, 3 other skeins that we'll talk about actually next time, because those are going to be for our listeners. So,
yes.
Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah.
Little woolly
that's very
wool
cool.
pies.
Yes, I'm really interested to see, hear how these knit up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I am going to do some swatching. Even though I don't usually swatch for socks, I think I want to do justice to these yarns and swatch them. I think it was during the summer, or maybe it was last spring, I was listening to Louise from Knit British. She has a podcast, and she was doing a breed swatch along. So, particular breeds of wool, people were using that yarn, breed-specific yarn, and making swatches, and then really doing a lot of detail in describing them. So I thought I would play along, but I'm not very good about the detail part.
Right.
I like the knitting part and the thinking about it part, but the actually writing down all the details of my swatch, I fell down on. But I had a Wensleydale fleece that I spun for a vest for Aunt Betty, and I swatched it because I wanted to know what size of needle she should use and what kind of gauge she was going to get. And was that the right grist of yarn? And Wensleydale is a long wool, and it's a little coarse. It's not, it's not merino. But oh my gosh, that swatch was just glorious. I mean, the yarn was pretty, and I spun it really loosely, so it wasn't. Long wools have a tendency to get like piano wire if you spin them too tightly.
Right.
But these were big and fluffy and puffy. And anyway, when I knit up the swatch, I was like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't have imagined that this would knit up this way. So I'm anxious to do that, and I'll share with the listeners what these swatches look like once I've had a chance to swatch with them. So,
did Aunt Betty finish the vest?
She hasn't even started yet.
Oh, tell her to get on it. We want to know. We want to know really. How this vest turns out.
No, she's got Christmas knitting, so I think January will be her. Maybe that will be her start time for that vest. But the yarn turned out beautiful, and I think I have like twice as much as I need. Or as she needs for the vest. So it's worth swatching with yarn if you're not sure you're going to, you think, oh, it might be too harsh or too itchy or too woolly, too traditional British wool. But it's so pretty. So, yeah, very exciting. Okay. And then I also, I can't talk about it because it hasn't arrived yet, but I also... ordered some yarn from Countess Ablaze, and she's a hand dyer in the UK, and her colors are absolutely fabulous, beautiful, gorgeous colors, which, I mean, okay, the name tells you everything you need to know. Countess Ablaze, right? So she was interviewed on somebody's podcast, and I thought her interview was really interesting, and I started following her on Instagram, and I see her yarn over and over and over, and finally I just thought, you know what? I'm buying some.
Time to buy some.
I'm buying some. So I'll let you know when that comes. Well,
I'm anxious to hear about that too.
Yeah. I went on a British yarn buying binge.
We talked about the Goodwill calls me. And so I got a call. And I picked up, you'll laugh, 22 skeins.
22?
22 skeins of Louisa Harding Willow Tweed.
Oh my God.
And I got 6 different colorways. So let's see, 128 yards in a skein. And I think I'm sorry, I keep turning towards my pile. The most I think I have is 7 skeins of one color. And some I have like the smallest amount is 2 skeins. But I've been it's really interesting yarn. 40% alpaca, 40% merino wool, and 20% silk.
Wow.
And it has, so like the one I picked up is kind of like a sky blue, but then it has this white slub that goes through, which I assume must be the silk.
Right.
But I've got a sky blue, I've got a natural, I've got a sort of a taupe color, I have a navy with that slub through it. I mean, I've got all these different colors. So I don't know, I'm thinking, well, I was just looking online. People have made sweaters, they've made shawls, they've made hats. I don't know what I'm going to make out of it.
That sounds like gorgeous yarn.
Yeah, very nice. And then I got 2 skeins of Mirasol Tupa, which is 50% merino wool and 50% silk. And it's a beautiful, kind of like a bright navy.
Wow.
And then I got 2 skeins of Madeline Tosh Vintage in a colorway called Fragrant, which is kind of like a coral color.
All right.
And 4 skeins of Spud and Chloe sock yarn.
Oh, I love Spud and Chloe sock yarn.
Okay, and Kelly, I got 2 skeins of cream and 2 skeins of kind of a taupe color. And I was thinking of sending them to you because I know how much you like Spud and Chloe. And then I thought, I've never knit with Spud and Chloe. I think I'm going to keep
You
them.
need to do it. I've only used the sock yarn once. I bought it in Seattle. And
I remember,
it's kind of a blue, kind of a royal blue color. And those socks have just worn so well. I mean, wool and silk for socks, perfect.
So do you think I should make socks out of them?
Well, I like my socks out of Spud and Chloe. And the ones I have, I think they've even gone in the washer and dryer. I don't think they're...
Okay, I sometimes feel like I get a skein of yarn, it's too beautiful to put on my feet. Do you ever feel that way?
No.
No, you never feel that way.
Never.
Okay, well.
My feet are worth it.
So maybe I will. Yeah, maybe I'll make socks out of it then. I don't know. It's a nice color.
Yeah, well, and they wear really well.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to. You could do something else with it, but there's lots of beautiful yarn in the world. Why shouldn't some of it be socks?
Yeah. Well, and then this Louisa Harding, people have made sweaters out of it. And I was actually thinking, well, maybe I'd make a sweater out of it but just combine these because there's not really enough to make you can make like a shell probably out of one color, like a tank top or something, but there's not really enough to make a cardigan. But I thought, well, I could just combine all these colors and make a striped cardigan or something. I'm not sure, I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I don't know. I just got it the other day, so.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Your Goodwill is really good. It's a really good
called
Goodwill.
The Goodwill. Yeah. In fact, I'm hesitant to talk about it because I don't want people going to the Goodwill and getting my yarn.
Really? And we do have
Nobody goes to Goodwill.
We have quite a few listeners in Washington, so that is a danger. So where did you go to this Goodwill, Marsha? Did you go down to Portland?
I'm not saying which Goodwill I went to. It's like a fishing hole. You don't want to tell anybody where that fishing hole.
Oh, you were in Spokane at the Goodwill.
Yeah, right. That reminds me too. Like you never tell anybody where your good fishing hole is, and we had some friends that
or your blackberries.
So your blackberries, or if you have a good lead on a good pile of manure for your garden. Because I remember my father said, "Oh, well, where'd you get that manure?" And they got all cagey about where this good manure was. So
that's funny. Very funny.
Manure.
Well, you were nice enough to send me some of your Goodwill finds because I got a box in the mail the other day, and I didn't even count them to tell the number, but several, more than 5.
Yeah,
more like maybe 7 or 8.
Yes.
Cones.
I thought since you have your new remodeled studio out in the garage, that you need something to put on the shelves.
That's right. So I now have
you don't have
beautiful cones of wool, and we can talk about this sizing scheme another time, but it's called 22, 20/2, or 2/20, depending on where you look it up. And basically it's lace weight. And lots of cones of this lace weight wool. And then one of them is cotton and linen.
Well, I pretty much go through there, and if it's, I just look for wool, cotton, natural fibers. I don't, not that I have anything against acrylic. It's just that I can't dye acrylic.
Yeah.
So I'm not really interested in the acrylic. And I just go, if I find any kind of wool, a decent amount too. But those cones, I wasn't sure about the cones, but some of them actually say they're wool. I think they all say they're wool.
All of them say they're wool except the one that's cotton and linen.
Cotton,
yeah. And they're all that 22 or 220 is the weight of them. So it's about the same weight as the cotton that I use for dish towels. So, so like a lace.
So, Kelly, you can weave me a blanket. I want a queen size blanket.
The same size as your Garter Squish, but just thinner.
No.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. It will make some nice fabric. It would be nice woven fabric. And then I was also thinking I could put a couple of strands of this together and, have a sport weight or a sock weight or a sport weight or something. So I don't know what I'll do with it, but yeah, definitely cool to have some cones to add to my stash.
Yeah, right. What else is going on? Is that everything?
Yeah, that's it. That's the sum total of my life.
Well, I'm still kind of giddy with excitement that I finished my Afghan.
Yeah.
So I am sitting here. As I say, I bound off the washcloth, and then I was sitting here and I had some extra yarn, the contrasting yarn. So I thought, I'll just see if I can crochet a chain around my. So that's what I've been sitting here doing is I've done 3 sides of my washcloth. So, and I don't crochet, but
so like an edging. I figured
out how to do a little edging on it. I find that sometimes the washcloths, I don't, they, especially when they have color work, the edges look a little rough.
Yes.
The ones I liked are the ones where you actually do maybe seed stitch at the edge or something to create an edge, all the way around. And I find this one that I'm doing right now is, I talked about this last episode. It's called Atomic something or other. I've drawn a blank now. Which, by the way, I realized I mentioned this in the show notes. I made the washcloth before, and you use 2 colors. The contrasting color is garter stitch. It's like a garter stitch row, But the rest of the washcloth is supposed to be stockinette. And I did the one I finished, I did it wrong. I did the whole thing garter stitch. So
you made your own pattern.
I made my own pattern. But this is the thing is I like this pattern, but I find that I think if I was making it again, I'd add stitches so I could put, I guess that wouldn't work if you're using color. You'd still have the color going up the side. But I don't know, it just seems like it's kind of an unfinished edge, just having it do just the straight stockinette without any kind of edging. And that's why I like, so I thought, I'll just try I'll just see if I can put a single
edging.
Crochet. Yeah, crochet.
That's nice.
So that's what I'm doing.
I have one that has I have one that I sort of adapted from somewhere else. Somewhere else had I-cord edging. And I did I-cord edging around some of them, and then I just decided, that's too fiddly for a dishcloth. But it is pretty. Yeah. It does make a nice edge. But they did I-cord edging all around it, and then made a little bit of I-cord at the corner. It just makes a little loop. So you do I-cord all the way around, and then you make a little extra just I-cord sticking off, and then you attach it down, and you've got a loop to hang it with. So that's kind of nice.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. So I really don't need to do this, but I just thought, I'm sitting here and I don't have anything to knit on now because I'm overcome by this Afghan.
Yeah. All right. Well,
okay. All righty. Well, carry on. It's late now, so I'm going to head to bed, I think, here. And,
okay. Yeah, me too.
Finish my little washcloth, and then I'm going to head to bed. So, okay, we'll talk in 2 weeks.
All right. Good night to all our listeners, and goodbye.
Yes, good night. All righty. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2ewesfiberadventures.com. We have links for iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube, and others.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2 Ewes
doing our part for World Fleece.